this test. And so many people said, is this fair then? They met the qualifications and requirements when they were in those classes in previous years. Now they're in 11th grade and they're going to be told, we've just raised the bar an extra 6 feet. Should it have been up there all along? Absolutely. So that was what the debate was about in the House and Senate. So that's why I support the notion of continuous progress. Student comes in with these skills and abilities. At the end of the year, he ought to be here or she ought to be here. And I think that was a more fair and reasonable way to deal with that transitional period.
Thank you very much. I'm going to try to condense these last few questions, not quite so lengthy. Occasionally, parent groups are not very successful in gaining access or face time with their elected representatives at the Capitol. If you are elected, will you make yourself accessible to the parents from your school districts, and how will you do that? I'll start with Ms. Britton.
Oh, good. I love that question. So thank you, whoever answered that. You know, this reminds me when I was greeting with some of the unions, I said to people, they gave me kind of a lukewarm handshake endorsement because I am all about balancing. You know, you balance employer needs with employee rights. But what one of them said to me, and I'll never forget this, I'll be on my grave telling this story, he said, well, we just want to make sure the door is always going to be open. And I said, well, of course it is. But it's also going to be open for everyone else too. So I haven't been a legislator yet, so maybe I'm being a little Pollyannic, but I expect my phone lines to be open, my email to be hopping, and people to be in my office as much as possible. Absolutely. You know, I'm not in this for me. I'm not in this for a political party. I am in this for each and every one of us that is sitting in this room. So keep me busy.
Thank you. Representative Anderson.
Sure. I've had the pleasure to meet with all of the legislative action committees that are in the 4 school districts that I represent. Hopkins does the best job, by far, don't tell the other schools, of using their LAC and bringing them into the Capitol. It's been a great opportunity to sit down with them and hear their views. I provide instructions to my legislative assistant that my constituents come first, so that's why every time somebody calls my office and they schedule an appointment, she asks them, do you have somebody from the legislative district? And so that's the requirement, because I want to make sure that I leave that time available for the constituents that I represent and that it doesn't get filled up with people outside of the district that I represent. Now, when it comes to the House floor, sometimes I'm able to leave the House floor to meet with folks that have come up for the day, but I'm not always able to do that if I'm participating directly in the debate and things of that nature. I have to stay on the floor or we're in the middle of a vote. But certainly, my door is always open. That has been my policy from day one.
Thank you.
I think Representative Anderson said it best, your constituents come first. I mean, you choose to send us to St. Paul, and I think that needs to be remembered throughout your term. You're just you guys are first in line. It's kind of like getting the zip pass at Six Flags. You guys are always going to be at the head of the line.
I concur. My constituents have open door all the time. I try and answer every email. I mean, we're not in session right now. I'll go home and I'll have another 50 emails to answer because somebody who always answers them keeps getting new emails back. So, you know, I have a lot of constituent service, and it is always my goal to be available to everybody I represent, and whether that means in my office, on the phone, or by email. Again, though, if I'm on the Senate floor or in a committee, I am very careful about stepping out if I'm in the middle of something, because I also feel a responsibility to the people I represent that you want me there as part of the discussion so I can take those informed votes. So that's the balance. If I'm ever not available, it's because there's something that I think I ought to be at.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I agree with all that, and the Hopkins group are the most effective, and you all come. And I remember, even at my age, running down the hall to make sure I get there in time to meet with the constituents. You folks are our bosses. That's how I see it. I would just add that a very effective way to get to the legislator is to actually show up and to phone call that, or write a note. I can't tell you how quickly a lot of my colleagues in the House will run around if they have a letter signed by somebody. That direct contact is really good. And I really think everybody in the Minnesota House, regardless of which side of the aisle they're on, try really hard to represent their constituents and to respond. And so I do it. Everyone here who is serving presently has been doing it as well. So keep it up and just be more aggressive. Never, step back and say, oh, I probably shouldn't bother them. Even if you see me over here in Lund's or someplace, and you have something to tell me, I expect you to buttonhole me right there and say, listen, you, what have you been doing for our district right now?
Thank
You have
very
that job.
much. Mr. Curley.
It goes without saying, it's people's house. People should have
Right.
absolute access to the legislature, so it goes without saying.
Okay, thank you.